All right, AIGP candidates, welcome. Let's get right into it. In this short explainer, we're going to be focusing exclusively on domain IV, really digging into the critical post-development stages of the AI lifecycle to get you primed and ready for your exam.
You know, for AI governance professionals, the story doesn't just end when a model is built. In fact, in a lot of ways, that's where the real work begins. We're going to be focusing on the right side of this diagram here, the absolutely crucial stages of deployment, monitoring, and of course, maintenance. First up, let's tackle the critical decisions an organization has to make before an AI system ever sees the light of day. A huge concept for your AIGP exam is really understanding the trade-offs that are involved at this stage. Okay, so an organization has three main choices for where its AI is going to live: in the cloud, on-premise, or right at the edge. So what really governs this decision? What are the big factors at play? And here's the thing, it's all a balancing act. The decision really boils down to these four key factors. For instance, think about a self-driving car. You'd absolutely want an edge deployment, right? Because low latency isn't just a nice to have, it's a life or death requirement. You'd make that choice even if it means having less computing power. It's always this trade-off between budget, compute, latency, and privacy.
Let's switch gears for a second. What happens when an organization isn't just buying a tool, but it's deploying a model it built itself, in-house? What kind of unique risks does that open up?
So, the crucial point is this. The organization is suddenly wearing two hats. It's both the creator and the user. And that, right there, massively increases its legal and operational burden compared to just using a vendor's product. Bottom line, you're on the hook for everything. Now, beyond proprietary models, a lot of organizations leverage open source software. But here's the catch. This is not a free pass. As a governance professional, what specific legal landmines should you be looking for in those licenses? For the exam, you've got to pay close attention to these three clauses. You need to be asking, who actually owns the training data? What are the precise restrictions on how we can use this model? And this one is critical. If the model infringes on someone else's IP, who is on the hook legally? I love this quote because it just brilliantly illustrates the core risk with third-party models. An update isn't some minor tweak. It can fundamentally change the AI's logic, its safety, and its potential for bias, literally overnight.
So when that brain transplant happens, what is the governance, risk, and compliance team's immediate responsibility before the new version goes live? Here's a hint. You can't just click update and hope for the best.
The key takeaway here is that the deployer cannot blindly trust the vendor. They have to perform rigorous regression testing to make sure the core functionality isn't broken. They also have to conduct a completely new bias audit, and they have to validate that all their safety guardrails are still effective before ever going live with that update. Now that the model is deployed, the work isn't over. Not even close. Governance shifts from a one-time decision to what we'll call the constant watch, which is really a state of continuous, active monitoring. So what does that actually look like? What are the core activities that an organization has to perform to keep watch over its live AI systems? Recommended practices, and you'll definitely want to remember these, include adversarial testing through red teaming, diligent documentation with updated model cards, actively tracking vendor risks, and archiving system outputs to monitor performance and drift over time. Two related concepts here are just absolutely critical: data drift and the need for retraining. Why are these so fundamental for maintaining a model's value and its safety? Think of it this way. Monitoring for data drift is about defense. It's detecting when the real world no longer matches the model's training data. Retraining, on the other hand, is about offense. It's proactively updating the model to maintain its effectiveness and relevance in that new reality. Now, in the world of generative AI, a key monitoring challenge is, of course, managing hallucinations. So how does a technique like retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, help solve this technical problem? You know, RAG is a really powerful mitigation because it fundamentally changes how the model generates an answer. Instead of just remembering from its huge pool of training data, it's forced to first go search a trusted external knowledge source and then base its answer only on what it finds there. It effectively prevents it from just making things up. And finally, let's talk about what happens when things inevitably go wrong, because they will. Effective governance isn't just about prevention. It requires a robust plan for failure.
It might sound like a simple administrative tool, right? But how does a centralized AI inventory become such a critical part of incident and risk management?
Its value is all about operational speed. In a crisis, you do not have time to hunt for information. The inventory puts all the necessary documentation, the response plans, and the key contact info in one place, enabling a rapid and coordinated response during a crisis or an audit. When you're planning for an AI system failure, what is the single most important element to identify that you might not find in a traditional IT incident plan? This right here is so crucial. You have to identify all downstream dependencies. A failure in one AI system can cause a cascade of failures in other integrated tools. This makes external notification to partners and vendors not just a good idea, but a critical and immediate step in your response. Okay, to wrap this all up and leave you with a final thought for your exam, I want you to always remember that a simple vendor update can trigger a regression crisis. This is a core concept in Domain IV. So, looking at your own governance framework, is it truly ready to handle that brain transplant when it happens?